What is going on? It is Nate the Game Guy coming back with another video, and if you read the title of this video, you already know that I finally completed my North American Nokia N-Gage set. I now have all 54 retail releases for the N-Gage. I'm not gonna lie, this was a really fun set to go for this handheld that basically came out around 20 years ago now at this point, and I even remember walking into my local GameStop back in 2003 when the handheld first launched. It's finally nice to have a full set for the handheld. And of course, in this video, I'm planning to share with you guys why I decided to collect for the N-Gage, show off some of the rarest games when it comes to the N-Gage's library, along with a few miscellaneous things here and there when it comes to the set and collecting for the N-Gage as a whole. So without further ado, let's dive right into this video subject and take a look even further when it comes to collecting for the N-Gage right after the intro. So the reason why I started to collect for the N-Gage several years ago now at this point was when I first discovered and heard about how game collectors go for full sets or full libraries, where essentially a collector will try to go for every single game release in a console's library or set, I definitely was very interested in that. And I remember I went through so many different libraries. I looked at PlayStation 2, just how enormous the library was, and I've seen everything from kind of the Genesis to the PlayStation 1 to the Atari 2600. I looked at all kinds of different sets. And one thing that I noticed about the N-Gage set was that it only had 54 games released for it. Now, one thing that I've learned about collecting for consoles with smaller game libraries is usually they're going to be the ones that are going to be really expensive, and also the ones that are going to be really difficult to chase down the games for. However, when it came to the N-Gage, I remembered it very well from when it first came out. I never actually got to be able to own an N-Gage until many, many years later, but I will say I remembered it very well, and to me, it just kind of made sense for me that I was like, you know what, this is a console I remember. There was some attachment to it, even though I actually never got to play it when I was a kid. And, you know, at the time, collecting for the N-Gage, it wasn't necessarily cheap, but it wasn't expensive either. However, things certainly changed as the years went by when it came to pricing. So at the time, this was, I would want to say about 2016 was when I finally said, you know what, I'm going to pick up a couple N-Gage games and try to work on the library. That's when I essentially jumped right in and tried to collect for the N-Gage. Now, granted, I wasn't an aggressive collector at the time. I got a few games here and there, but of course, when it came to some of those more rarer titles, that's when things kind of became more difficult, because not only were they hard to find to purchase online, but also they were not cheap. But of course, let's take a look at some of these rarer titles that I'm talking about. Now, here are all the rarest titles for the N-Gage's library. A lot of these games, I had to wait months in between with purchasing them. I know one of them I had to wait at least a year, and that's because, not only because of pricing, but also because they're so hard to find. Like, literally, sometimes if you would try to search for these games for sale online, no one on the internet would be selling any of these games. Like, I would be checking eBay, Amazon, Mercari. I'd even go onto Google Shopping to find anybody that would be selling these games. A lot of them are just very hard to find. And that's because some of these games came out at the end of the lifespan of the N-Gage, which was already a handheld that was horribly selling back when it was on the market from 2003 all the way up to the very beginning of 2006. And I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty difficult finding these games. And even when I could find them, A lot of them were pretty expensive, and when it came to my collecting goals for the N-Gage, I wanted specifically retail releases. I did not want to get the Goldmaster kits. Now, don't get me wrong, the Goldmaster kits are cool, and what's nice about them is they give you extra things where just the retail releases just don't come with, and how they would essentially be like these copies that would be given to game reviewers and such from way back in the day. But for my specific set, I wanted to have only retail releases. I have to say some of the most expensive games that I have purchased are easily in my N-Gage set. The copy I have of Civilization is worth about $1,000, and I remember a couple years ago now at this point, I paid about $600 some for it from an eBay auction. Surprisingly, my last game that I needed was Asphalt Urban GT2, and funny enough, I actually had a viewer reach out to me where they were essentially selling off their Nokia N-Gage collection, and you know, after some going back and forth when it came to price, how it's going to be handled, along with a few other things as well, we obviously came to an agreement, and I finally got the last game that I needed, which was Asphalt Urban GT2, which was super awesome. Shout out to you. You know who you are if you're watching this video. I just don't want to put you on blast in this video in case if you want to be private. But of course, I think just because we are on the subject of my last game that's needed, I think I want to show you guys a little unboxing of essentially of how I got the last game that I needed. Now, I remember when I got the package at my front door, I literally took it up right away and got the camera set up and everything because I pretty much wanted to get this unboxing on camera. And I remember when I was going through the package and kind of unboxing everything, I remember it was in multiple layers of priority mail padded envelopes, where it literally felt like I was going through a Russian nesting doll where I would open one and then there'd be another and then there'd be another. But all joking aside, I actually do appreciate the extra protection that the seller did. And, you know, if it goes through multiple layers of padded envelopes, I can truthfully say as a buyer, I'm not going to care as long as it gets to me where it's essentially all protected, nothing's wrong with it. That's all I care about. So if you want to have it in like 100 padded envelopes, go for it. But I remember when I was opening this up, I was doing my best to make sure that the camera was angled properly, that I wasn't like knocking over anything and all that, because I was literally hunched over the camera while I was doing this unboxing and all that. Unfortunately, I'm a relatively clumsy person, which I think if I remember correctly, at one point, the scissors kind of just flew out of my hands when I was trying to unbox everything. But yeah, I was super stoked, super excited. And as you guys may or may not be able to see, I actually ended up buying a brand new copy of this game. However, I may break the seal to this game one day. Who knows? Usually I tend to keep these types of games just new and sealed, unless there's that day that comes from like, you know what? I actually feel like playing this. So we'll just have to wait and see if I actually get that itch one day to play Asphalt Urban GT2. We'll see. So I'm sure some of you may or may not be wondering what's next now since I've got a completed Nokia N-Gage set right here in the game room. Now with about 3 completed sets, obviously N-Gage, I've got Wii U completed and Hyperscan completed. If you've been following the channel for a while, you already know that I'm definitely going to try to finish that Dreamcast set. I'm definitely going to take things a little easy and a little slow with that, just because the last few games that I need for the Dreamcast set are not cheap, but they're not really expensive either. So I'm going to try to go at my own pace when it comes to that. After Dreamcast, I'm debating if I want to go for Nintendo 64 first and then Saturn, but probably I may want to do is both Saturn and Nintendo 64 at the same time. I definitely want to get 64 completed because that's easily one of my favorite game consoles of all time. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this was a very fun experience, finally getting the third set completed, Nokia N-Gage. And you know, if you're a new viewer, definitely consider sticking around, where you get to be able to watch my journey when it comes to completing sets, hearing some of my opinions on different game collecting matters, and of course hearing some of my takes when it comes to different games as a whole. Not only do I collect the games, but I also enjoy playing them. I may not play exactly every single game right here in the game room, but you know, if I wasn't a gamer, you know, there's a pretty good chance, you know, I may not be a game collector and be standing in a room where I've got 3 completed sets right behind me, along with a bunch of other games right here, as you can tell. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Please be sure to check out these videos here, here, and here. After all, I post a lot of content when it comes to game collecting tips, and other video game related subjects. So be sure to keep an eye out every Monday and Friday, where I upload consistently, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.